Our second speaker on the proposition is Jonathon Marrow. Jonathon is at Homerton College and is an MPhil in history. He was also previously opinion editor at the Georgetown Newspaper. It's worth noting that Jonathon very kindly stepped in at the last minute when one of our speakers failed to turn up. So, Jonathon, you have the floor.
I made it here somehow. Wasn't through auditioning, but we're here. I was asked to do this about 27 minutes ago, so I apologize. Please blame Max and Chris and give them shit about this. They are the reason you have to listen to me. And so I've tried to put together a speech, but please ask me questions. Please ask me questions so we can get through this. I was once a student reporter. I had very little power. But now you have the chance to hold me accountable in some way. So yeah, my name is not Evan Harris, it's Jonathon Marrow, which I'm told, that's M-A-R-R-O-W for the record, David. I'm told that marrow is just in America, it's just what's in your bones, but over here it's some sort of eggplant, aubergine type deal. So I was told that even if I fail here, at least I'll be better than maybe better than an eggplant. And I am an American, as many people know here, and I was really offended by Jake's trying to take the fault of all dumb America on himself. I think that's there's so much blame to go around. Surely one person can't hold it all. But it is an honor to speak here where Emperor Haile Selassie, the Lion of Judah, where James Baldwin once spoke, defending free speech since 1815, even if that's 90% of my country's history. So when I was preparing for this debate 27 minutes ago, I thought maybe I'd just open the Daily Mail and start reading headlines, and that would be effective, but then I realized I would have far too much time. So I promise I will come back to Daily Mail headlines at the end. I'm sure my mom is at home right now reading Daily Mail headlines because it's so much fun, isn't it? It really is. So, if you look at the last couple of years, it's easy to take the arguments that the opposition has made that there's so many publications out there. There are all these newspaper scandals, but they've all been held accountable for. People can stop reading. There's blogs and there's different types of media. But let's look at actually the last 5 to 10 years in political journalism, both on this side of the Atlantic and on the other side of the Atlantic. Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump. You can look at him one way and say, wow, the media took him down, right? The fake news media, which he campaigned against, and he survived. Independent evaluators, statisticians have said that the media in this country, around the world, in the United States, put up so much controversy over Donald Trump that he is estimated to have gained about over $1 billion of free media from the newspapers covering his every word, his every controversy, his every question. Harry and Meghan. You literally drove your king's son out of this country to California because the media chased him and his wife across. That's how powerful. It can literally, TBD on whether the monarchy has been brought down yet. We'll see. We have literally chased it. It took the media 20 years to figure out that the king's brother, what then queen's son, was... Well, I don't know if it's legally sure that he's a pedophile, but if the shoe fits, right? It took them 20 years to figure out that the literal His Royal Highness the Prince was, I don't need to go there. Media with Harry and Meghan, they made it personal, they made it about race, they made it about class, and on the whole, the Harry and Meghan thing shows that we're all about the personalization of public life. And Boris Johnson and Brexit, right? We know about the stories in the run-up to the Brexit campaign. We know that for 3 years, that man was prime minister of this country. And the media, did it cover him? Did it cover the controversies? Did it actually hold the many, many flaws of his government to account? Or did it fail to do that? So we see all these controversies that maybe the press gets in on, but these people are not held to account. Go across yes. Point of information. Yes. Was it? I think it took years and years. He came out months. He was surviving. Boris was surviving right until the end. It was only because of a minor political scandal that his party finally found. I think he actually entirely weathered that controversy. If we look at across the Atlantic, the Iraq War reporting, which many, many publications are part of, including the New York Times. The New York Times published a number of fake articles about the Iraq War. They also were complicit in this idea that there were fake weapons of mass destruction. Never heard about it. 2006, very famously, at Duke University, there was a rape case where an unfounded accusation was made of rape against a number of lacrosse players at this major university, ruined their lives. A number of publications part of it, never were held accountable.
We did hear about the reporting in the Iraq War from the press.
Really? During the time or far, far afterwards? When is the timeline?
The question is not the timeline in which we hear from it. The question is there accountability?
No, the timeline is actually very crucial, I think. If you look, and I'll come back to George Santos. Everyone know George Santos, America, the man who has cured diseases and was in the Holocaust and is now a 25-year-old, was also a drag queen. I can't even keep up. But the timeline is important, right? Before an elections, before we go into Iraq or after we go into Iraq. The UVA, horrible rape case reported at UVA, blamed a fraternity. Rolling Stone magazine, incredible magazine in the United States, reported it, very little accountability. The Sun, Liverpool, Hillsborough, very little accountability. Sun is still a major publication. So I look at all these scandals and I don't really feel. This chamber, right, hosted one of the most famous debates of the 20th century, William F. Buckley versus James Baldwin, about the crucial importance of race in the 20th century. William F. Buckley, major American reporter, editor-in-chief of National Review, the conservative magazine, huge pro-segregationist writings in the 1950s. Up until the mid-2000s, he was editor-in-chief of the most respected conservative magazine in the United States, never held accountable. The New York Times, right? We have a congressman from right outside of New York City, elected having fabricated everything, his education, his work, his background, where he was born, literally everything, and the press in my country could not even figure it out until after. He actually ran 2 campaigns for Congress, one failure, one successful. It took 2 months after he was elected for even found it out. Look at anonymous sources, right? The press. They use anonymous sources left and right. We've heard that with Harry and Meghan. We've heard how apparently the royal family leaks and leaks. Where is the accountability for the anonymous sources in the press? We don't know who's leaking, why they're doing it, what they're doing. Any political. When was the last time you read an article about politics on Westminster which didn't have anonymous sources? Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, if we don't have anonymous sources, then surely there's less of an incentive for people with perhaps controversial whistleblower stories to come out and say.
There's a lot of legal protections for whistleblowers, but the idea of anonymous politicians talking shit and giving little things here, giving background sources, trying to screw each other, one member of the royal family trying to screw another one, I don't think that is crucial. And so even if we look outside traditional media sources, right? Recent years, proliferation of sources. We've got blogs, we've got newspapers, we've got television. On the face of it, it seems like, wow, there's all this news. Some people can try it. If it's good journalism, it'll go down. If it's great journalism, it'll success. It's democratized the press, right? In theory, we don't have these traditional sources. This is the paper of record. We've got these little sources. But is that really true? Jake over here, who, by the way, I'm a great fan of, used to write a newsletter for a Politico magazine, the politics publication in the United States. It's called Politico Playbook. Comes out every morning. The Spectator has one. I think there's a playbook over here in England. That is the most read publication for American politics. What does it have? It's got birthdays of staffers. It's got where people were sitting for dinner here and there, who talked, this person. They have personalized, even great publications like Politico have personalized press to this. I went to my undergraduate degree in DC, I once sent in little tidbits. I saw a senator at dinner, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll send it in because that's what your publication does. And guess what? The next day, it was reported that X was at dinner at this restaurant, right? That not about what someone's policy positions were, but where people are eating, who people are. So that's, I think, what we see more and more with social media, with these proliferation of different media sources, right? We know about conservative publications, right? We know about Fox News and GB News. We know about Guido Fawkes, right? And are these accountable, these incredibly partisan sources accountable? You might think that you might think that people understand that these publications like Fox, these media sources like GB News are partisan and they can turn it off if they're not and they sink. But actually huge statistics show, the majority of people don't realize when they're watching these highly partisan politicized sources that they are partisan. They don't realize that they don't have fact checking. They don't realize that that there isn't any sort of accountability for people not to write what they want. So I think I don't see a lot of that. And the accountability, yes.
I find it amazing you're talking about like greater accountability,
Yep.
where you're talking in a country such as the UK, which has really strict libel laws, and which you'd like to think would stop like the scandals that you've like spoken about previously. But these libel laws are used by Russian oligarchs and other rich and powerful people to stop our news outlets publishing stories about corruption and things like that, because it's not worth for these companies to publish these stories and then be hit with $1 million lawsuit. So I think it's kind of you're talking about accountability, but we have these laws in this country that are being used by the rich and powerful to stop our people from doing what they should do.
It's a fair point, but the issue is, if we look at the corporate control of these companies, literally it comes to the question of who controls these publications. If you belong to a Murdoch a press outlet, the only accountability you have is to make Rupert Murdoch happy. That's literally it. Washington Post in my country, the most biggest political operation. The motto is democracy dies in darkness. That's the motto of that publication. All it matters is, do you make Jeff Bezos happy? Because he's the CEO, he owns it. And do they publish about the Amazon drivers who have to pee in cups to make it through their workday? Do we? No, I'm going to go on. Do we look at the personalization of threats to people like the Supreme Court, to politicians, to the judges? And I think our opposite side should take this. What about the judges who were called enemies of the state? Is anyone held accountable for that? We look back to this wonderful age of news where the BBC was the paper of record, where the New York Times was the paper of record, and that now it's anyone can say anything. But what we have now is a media landscape that only does opinions. It's only talking heads. It's not based on factual. It's only about opinions that can make it. And so we can have regulation. To Jake's point, I think we can have regulation. You say it doesn't have to be the government, right? The biggest controversies about Facebook and Twitter with Elon Musk is whether they will regulate themselves, right? Elon has been put under all this controversy for he's getting rid of moderation, right? That wasn't government moderation of Twitter. Facebook had an independent body that kicked Donald Trump off, that decides on his suspension. So there are abilities, there are mechanisms of accountability for them to have. And I just want to look out, right? I did pull up Daily Mail headlines because I could not read them. This is the headline 5 minutes ago from Daily Mail. Transgender double rapist Isla Brizan leaves women's prisons after 48 hours and is put behind bars in an all-male unit after Nicola Sturgeon was forced into a screeching U-turn. The Sun, boxing clever. Princess Kate stuns in a bright pink outfit and royal families thinks it's a dig at Meghan Markle. Fox, trillions at stake. 25 states hit Biden admin with lawsuit over climate action targeting Americans' retirement savings. Go back to the Sun again. The Daily Mail again. Exclusive. Killer adult Afghan asylum seeker poses in his school uniform while pretending to be a 14-year-old boy. Triple murderer playfully sticks his tongue out for camera alongside classmates' mouths before stabbing aspiring Marine to death. We're not going to hold that accountable?